Hi guys, it's Alex Breck here and welcome to another Alex Breck's Banter. I'm absolutely overjoyed to be able to say that finally at last I have published my sequel to The Devil You Know, and it's called The Devil Inside, and you can see the cover behind me. I'm very, very pleased with the cover, and also I've had some great comments from you guys already for the book, so I'm really, really chuffed. It's been some year, hasn't it? Let's be honest. 2021 has been some year. I meant to get this book out a while ago, but I'm really, really glad now to be able to share it with you. I thought today I would just do a very short podcast and video on my YouTube channel and my podcast channel, Alex Breck's Banter. And I am going to read to you a little snippet from chapter 6, which doesn't give too much away. I think most of anybody who's read the first book will know that there is something that happens 10 years further on. Just before I go any further, this book, The Devil Inside, can totally be read as a standalone book. You don't have to have read The Devil You Know to be able to understand this book. It's a completely different book. Yes, there are some characters from the first book, but this book is a very different kind of book. Yes, it's dark like the first book, but it is a very, very different kind of book. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. I've had some great feedback so far. I'm just going to read you this short snippet from chapter 6. So grab yourself a coffee, snuggle up, stay warm, and hopefully you can understand my Scottish accent. So here we go. When Jim Boyle had received their strange dinner invitation a couple of days back, he'd been tempted to throw it in the bin straight away. But at the same time, he was insanely curious about all of that nonsense from a decade back. And the ex-police inspector in him demanded to know if this had anything to do with what had happened. Most cops would have been happy enough to let sleeping dogs lie, particularly when the whole stramash had earned him considerable plaudits and had undoubtedly helped facilitate his smooth retirement less than a year afterwards. Marie, his long-suffering wife, had been characteristically blunt. Jimmy, you're nearly 60 now, and you're supposed to have left all this Polish crap behind when you signed up to be a fine art student. For Pete's sake. You went and graduated now, and yet I see you've no done a picture for ages. And here you are telling me you think this dinner date is from the people who nigh on killed you on that godforsaken plague island. You must be mad. And if you think for a minute I'll be coming with you. And yet here they sat, the pair of them, fidgeting awkwardly like teenagers on a first date. Boyle glanced around, steeling himself not to check his watch for what felt like the 100th time. They'd arrived 30 minutes early, both of them thinking that a place like that wasn't for the likes of them, and the least they could do to maximize their chances of actually getting in the door, despite their invitation, was not to be late. Jim had also phoned ahead without telling Marie, anxious not to make an arse of himself, just in case the whole thing was some cruel wind-up. But to his surprise and relief, the reservation had been genuine. Trying not to look like he'd never been there before, Jim stared ahead at a large stuffed fish on the wall in front of them. He'd no idea what type of fish it was, but it was the size of a small whale. The name was stenciled into the wall underneath. In Latin? Or was it Gaelic? Jim didn't think it looked particularly appetizing, and it certainly wasn't very fucking artistic either, but he guessed he didn't need his arts degree to know that. Despite warning Marie to be on her best behavior, he saw she'd downed her large red in double jig time. He waved over the waiter and ordered a bottle this time, taking the opportunity to survey the rest of the plush restaurant once again. There was no denying it. It was a gorgeous establishment. Marie and he, like most of the population of Glasgow, had walked past the elegant facade of the Locarno seafood restaurant 1,000 times before, and at least 999 times they'd wished they could afford to cross the threshold of the most expensive eatery in the whole of Scotland. It had a cachet unlike anywhere they'd ever been before, the sort of place you saw rock stars coming out of, on the front pages of national papers and glossy magazines, but never washed up old police detectives. And it had been like that for as much of his life as he could remember. His old mum had loved Shirley Bassey and Tom Jones, and her dressing table mirrors had been festooned with clippings from old black and white magazine covers from the 60s, faded and creased, showing people like that holding court only yards away from where he sat at this very moment. He thanked the wine waiter and turned as Marie kicked his leg with her new stilettos. "Hey, it just shows you, Jim, even a posh place like this is struggling with a pandemic. We're the only folk in here." It was true, and Jim didn't know whether this made him feel more important or even more self-conscious. "I'll feel like a fish out of water," he had joked earlier. They saw a sudden flurry of activity from the staff, straightening their pinafores and adjusting their bow ties, before a brace of them made for the front entrance. Both Jim and Marie craned their necks to see who it could be. Marie had already been warned against asking for autographs. She'd only replied with a sarcastic laugh, telling him to get into the 21st century. Nobody asked for an autograph these days. It was always a selfie. So I hope you enjoyed that little snippet and give you a little bit of a taste of one of the main characters of The Devil Inside. I'd love for you to give me feedback on this book. So please find a link somewhere around this podcast or this video and grab the book. Be one of the first people to leave a review, and maybe there'll be a special treat for you. Meanwhile, I am going to settle down now and look forward to Christmas and, of course, Hogmanay in Scotland. So I wish you a great holiday season. Stay safe, take care, and have a wonderful 2022. I'll see you on the next video or in the next podcast. Please come and visit my site at www.alexbreckbooks.com or come and find me on Facebook. So that's it. All the best from Alex Breck. Bye-bye.